Hi, my name's Tom Ciancio. I'd like to share with you how I create single and double mats in Photoshop. Any version of Photoshop will work. As you see, I have a picture open in Photoshop, and I'm going to first standardize the size of the picture. By that, I mean I'm going to choose a particular length and width that I use each time for each picture I mat. This lends itself to consistency and speed as well as accuracy. In this case, I'm going to choose 1,000 pixel width as the standard. I choose 1,000 pixels because it doesn't require a watermark and it can be uploaded much more easily than a large file. So to create a 1,000 pixel width, we just click on image, image size, and change the width to 1,000. Both boxes were checked, and that just maintains the proportions. Now you can see I've got a smaller image. It won't enlarge beyond an 8 by 10 photograph. So this is what limits others from using your work if you happen to sell photos on Etsy, for example, which I do. So every time I put a picture in here, I'm going to shrink it to 1,000 pixels in width. Now, to work with the picture a little bit more easily, I'm going to enlarge it by just hitting Control and the plus sign a couple of times. It looks pretty good at this size. The first step in making the mat or the inner mat is to right click on the background, duplicate the layer, and label it inner mat. Once you've done that, you need to actually lay the mat down. How we do that is select image, canvas size. Now I've worked with 1,000 pixel images quite frequently, and so I know about what size I like. And in this case, I'm keeping it in inches, and I'm going to choose 1.5 for the inner mat. So that's 1.5 inches for the height and width added onto the canvas. So you'll see the inner mat appear. Now, to delineate the picture from the mat, we need to bevel the mat. And we do that by selecting Layer, Layer Style, Bevel and Emboss. Make sure the Bevel and Emboss is checked. Select Outer Bevel as a style, Hard Chisel as a technique, Direction down, that is the lighting is coming from the upper right, and the size as 10 pixels. You can also select any of the other options. I like inner glow, which you'll see a little bright light or line of light along the top and right side of the bevel. Now, of course, these numbers can also vary, but for demonstration purposes, these are the numbers that I use. Check OK. Now, you've established a bevel, a mat size, and now you want to color the mat. Very often I keep the mat white, and I'm going to in this demonstration, but I'm going to first show you how to add color. To add color, you hold the control key down and you click on inner mat. You see the dotted line surrounding the picture. Now if you were to color this mat, you'd color the bevel, and that would virtually eliminate the bevel. So you need to move this line outside the bevel, and it's not difficult. You just select, modify, and expand, and it's going to ask you how many pixels. Well, the bevel is 10, so I want to expand by 10 pixels. And now you see the dotted line has moved to the outside of the bevel. The last step is just to choose the inverse of this rectangle, and that would be the outer border. So we select, inverse, and now the outer border and the inner border of the mat are highlighted, and the bevel is not included in the highlight. To add color to this layer, you click on Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer, Solid Color, and there you have it. Now you can see the bevel with its shadow here, the inner glow, and the white from the chiseled bevel. Obviously purple, at least this purple, isn't a good matte color for the inner mat anyway, and you can simply use the eyedropper to choose a color you want for the inner mat, because usually it's a complementary color, something that's in the picture. So you could make it red or any shade of red that you find. You could use purple, green, and different areas have different shades. Choose whichever you like best, and then just hit OK. As I said, I'm going to keep it white. I like having a white inner mat. Now we need to create the outer mat. You're going to right click on Background, Duplicate Layer, and this time label it Outer Mat. In the same sequence that we did last time, we need to actually create the outer mat. So with the outer mat highlighted, we just go to Image, Canvas Size, and this time I'm going to choose 3 inches. I like to have it, the second mat, twice as big as the first. But again, you could choose any size you like. Typically, there is a mathematical proportion that is usually used. In this case, it's just 2-to-1 ratio. So I'm going to put 3 inches and enter. Now you'll see the second layer of the mat come on. I'm going to hit Control and minus to shrink it so it can be more easily seen. And now, as I did the first time, I need to add a bevel. Rather than going through the whole process again, we have the bevel up here. You just right click on the inner mat, copy the layer style, right click on the outer mat, and paste the layer style. Now you saw the same beveled edge appear on the inside of the outer mat. Once you've established that bevel, you follow the same procedure as you did with the first, and that is you hold the control key down, click on outer. That highlights the box. Now you want to move it over 10 pixels, so you go to you go to select, modify, expand. It's already 10 pixels. I moved it to the outside. Now I select the inverse, which highlights the outside of the mat. And I'm ready to add a color. I click on the box that's shaped like a half moon on the bottom. Choose solid color. And there's usually a default that it's on, but this is where I would pick a matte color from within the picture itself. And you can see that's pretty bold, but if you had a black frame around this, it would look nice. I also think it would look nice with purple. Not too feminine a purple, but or you could use green or darker green, whatever you choose. And then you hit OK. The last thing that you need to know is basically that once you've created this, you can save the matte color that you like and then simply, with one step, change the matte color. So we'll say that I saved it, and now I want to change the matte color. I just go to Image, make that edit, step backwards. Outer is already highlighted, the lines are still there, and you just create the new fill or adjustment layer, solid color, and you pick a different border. That's kind of feminine for me, but and then I would save that. And you can do that with multiple colors, so you could have multiple mats. And as I said, you could also color the inner mat a different color. I'm just not color coordinated enough to do it. Okay. I believe that's all. If you have any questions, I can be reached by email at thomasHirosiancio@hotmail.com. And in the subject line, please write double matting. I have written directions step by step that take you through that matting process. I also want to give a little plug for my photo site on Etsy. It's TC Nature Photos at Etsy.com. Good luck.